Why did Zeus's father devour his own children? Why did the Titans and the Olympians go to war? And what do these myths teach us about power, fate, and destiny? Together, we're going to explore the fascinating world of Greek mythology, from the beginning of existence with the Primordials to the reigns of the Titans and the Olympians. I hope you learned something new today and you enjoy the video. Now let's get into it. In the beginning, the only thing that existed was chaos. Chaos was nothingness. There was no world, no lights, and no darkness, just nothing. And from this nothingness, the first beings, which were essentially concepts, came to exist. These beings were the primordial gods, not to be confused with the Olympian gods, who come much later in the myths. The primordial gods were Nyx, the goddess of the night, Tartarus, god of the underworld, Eros, god of fertility, Erebus, the god of darkness, and of course, Gaia, the goddess of earth and the first primordial. The Greeks did not tend to actively worship the primordials and saw them as literal representations of their concepts, so they weren't often given human-like features or traits. Gaia would go on to birth Uranus, who represented the sky, and Pontus, who represented the ocean. She did so without any partner, by herself. From there, Gaia and her son Uranus would get together and have children. These children would be known as the Titans, and some of them were the famous monsters of the Greek world, such as the one-eyed Cyclops and the Hecatoncheires, an enormous monster with 100 hands and 50 heads. Some of the 12 titans that came from the union of Gaia and Uranus were Kronos, Oceanus, Hyperion, and Thea. There was a mutual disdain between the titans and their father Uranus. The titans hated their father, who considered himself to be their ruler, and Uranus hated his children. He imprisoned some of them, like the Hecatoncheires and the Cyclops, inside of Tartarus. And of course, this angered the titans and infuriated their mother Gaia. Together, Gaia and Kronos planned to kill Uranus. At night, while Uranus was with Gaia, Kronos used a sickle, made from stone, and castrated his father. I want you to think of Gaia and Uranus being together as the sky and earth, merging to become one. By severing this connection, what Kronos did was separate the sky from the earth forever, which explains why the world looks like it does to the ancient Greeks. From his dismemberment, Aphrodite was born, and from his blood, the giants, nymphs, and the Furies were born. The nymphs were minor nature goddesses, who were typically associated with fertility, trees, and water, while the Furies were the goddesses of vengeance and were responsible for punishing those who committed crimes, particularly those who killed their own family members. With Uranus out of the picture, Kronos had now become the king of the Titans and ruled the universe for himself, taking over from his father. After becoming the first king of the world, Kronos married his sister Rhea. He was the goddess of motherhood and fertility, and as you've probably noticed by now, marriage between siblings was quite common amongst the deities of Greek mythology. Kronos ruled the world by himself and was deeply distrustful of everyone around him. Unlike the later and previous deities in Greek mythology, he took over all aspects of the universe. He took control of the ocean from his Titan brothers, and he took the sky from Uranus's father. Interestingly, the era in which Kronos ruled the world was described as the Golden Age. During the Golden Age, people lived without hardship, there was no disease or sickness. There was harmony and peace, and people could eat without working as they got their food from the earth, which provided abundantly. In the Golden Age, people stayed youthful and lived until very old ages, and after death, they would become guardian spirits who watched over the other people that they cared about. As a ruler, Kronos seemed great, but as a family man, he committed many atrocities against his own children. Kronos feared that his children would one day kill him to take the throne, the same thing that he had done to his own father. So with each child that his wife Rhea gave birth to, Kronos swallowed them as they were born. But the queen of the Titans wanted to at least protect one child, and that one child was her lastborn, Zeus. Together with Gaia, they devised a plan to protect baby Zeus from being eaten by his father. Rhea pretended to give birth to the baby, but quickly swapped the baby for a special stone, which she wrapped in a blanket as though it was a real child. Just like he had done with all the other children, Kronos took this so-called child and swallowed it, suspecting no trickery or foul play. Rhea left to the island of Crete, where she gave birth to Zeus. She hid him in a cave before returning to her husband to prevent him from suspecting anything. Zeus was raised by the goddess Amalthea, who essentially became his foster mother. As you would expect, Zeus grew up hating his father Kronos for obvious reasons. He made it so that Zeus had to grow up in hiding, and he ate Zeus's own siblings. Kronos had prioritized power over everything, including his own family. As Zeus became an adult, he married Metis, who was a titaness and his cousin. She was the deity of wisdom, and her name is the ancient Greek word for wisdom and cunning. Metis told Zeus that she knew of a potion that could make Kronos vomit out his siblings, and so Zeus disguised himself and delivered the drink to his father Kronos, mixing the potion within. Soon, Kronos started to vomit. First, he vomited the stone which Rhea had tricked him into eating. Then came Zeus' siblings, one by one. First it was Poseidon, then Hades, then Hera, then Demeter, and finally Hestia. Together Zeus, Metis, and his siblings escaped, but there were still others to free. The children that Uranus had imprisoned in Tartarus, the Hecatoncheires and the Cyclops, who were also Zeus's uncles. Zeus rushed to the underworld and defeated the dragon that had been guarding the entrance, freeing the monsters that lived within. Once everyone had been freed, they all made their way to Olympus, where Zeus's siblings swore allegiance to him, and so the next step was taking the throne from his father. The Cyclops created weapons for the gods in preparation for their war with Kronos and his titans. For Zeus, he received his famous thunderbolt, Poseidon received his trident, and for Hades, he received a helmet of darkness. Each of these weapons were extremely powerful. This war would be called the titanomachy, a 10-year-long war between the Olympian gods and the titans before them. Although the Olympians were initially losing the war, their new weapons and the 100-handed Hecatoncheires turned the tide of the battle, putting them on top. The Titans were led by Atlas, who was motivated and encouraged them to resist. However, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades came up with a plan to end the long war once and for all. Hades, with his stealth and cunning, stole Kronos' weapon, leaving the Titan defenseless. Next, Poseidon, armed with his mighty trident, confronted Kronos. While Poseidon engaged with Kronos in close combat, Zeus unleashed his thunderbolts on his father. Meanwhile, the Hecatoncheires seized their opportunity, and with their immense strength they hurled giant rocks at the rest of the Titans, ending the 10-year-long war. When the war had ended, the defeated Titans were banished to the depths of Tartarus, a realm of eternal torment. Atlas, the leader of the Titans, was condemned to carry the heavens on his shoulder for the rest of eternity. The punishment for Kronos was solitude. He was cursed to wander the world alone for all of eternity. A fitting punishment when you think about how Zeus was forced to grow up by himself, without his siblings. After they defeated the Titans, Zeus and his brothers divided the universe between them by drawing lots. Zeus drew the lot and became god of the heavens. Hades became god of the underworld, and Poseidon became god of the seas. All three brothers shared dominion over the world. Eventually, just like his father before him, Zeus married his sister, Hera. Of course, even while he was married, he had many partners and children with other women. Zeus was now the king of the gods. He led the other Olympians and ruled over the Silver Age of humans, whereas his father had ruled over the previous Golden Age. Although the people of the Silver Age lived longer than modern humans, they had shorter lifespans compared to the previous people that lived. After death, the humans of the Silver Age became blessed spirits in the underworld, instead of guardian spirits in the world of the living. However, Zeus hated the humans of the Silver Age, as they weren't pious, and he believed they didn't worship him sufficiently, and so he destroyed them. However, not every person died. The remaining humans were battle-hardened warriors, who were able to survive Zeus's onslaught against mankind. But this generation of humans was much more violent than the previous generations, and Zeus disliked them for that too. This violent nature mankind had adopted also came from the fact that Pandora's box had been opened. Pandora was the first woman created by the gods. One day Zeus used his trickery to create a box, and inside this box he placed sorrow, sadness, death, old age and other misfortunes. And he placed the box in Pandora's care, telling her never to open it. Of course, his true intention was for her to be tempted to open it out of curiosity. Ultimately, Pandora did just that. She opened the box and let out all their misfortunes into the world. But even with all these misfortunes, the god Prometheus had hidden something inside the box. It was hope. And so when all the other negative things had been released, hope was released with them. And so as we know, humans had become corrupted and their destructive behavior angered Zeus. And in typical Zeus fashion, he plotted to destroy humanity. This time, Zeus sent a great flood to wipe out all of the humans. All humans except two, Deucalion and Pyrrha. Deucalion was the son of the god Prometheus, the Olympian god who had stolen fire and gave it to humanity, disobeying Zeus as a result. Deucalion was married to Pyrrha, and when Zeus had decided to destroy mankind, Prometheus came and warned them to build an ark in order to escape the flood. They were on a boat for days before they could eventually come onto dry land. Once they had reached dry land, Zeus gave them some stones, and every time Deucalion threw the stones, they turned into men. When Pyrrha threw the stones, they became women, eventually resulting in the repopulation of humanity. The last story I'll tell in this video is about Zeus eating his own child, bringing everything back to full circle. Zeus received a prophecy that his second unborn child would become the ruler of the universe, taking his position from him. At that time, Metis, his first wife, was pregnant with their unborn child. Zeus was smart. He didn't want to be tricked the way his father was, and took an extra step to eliminate his future child and rival. He didn't just eat the child when it was born like Kronos did. He ate Metis, his wife, and the unborn child all at once. Eventually, after eating them though, Zeus develops a piercing headache, which worried the other gods. So Hermes opened Zeus's skull, and from there the unborn child had emerged, fully grown and equipped with armor. This child was Athena, the goddess of wisdom. Zeus swallowing Metis for some scholars represents Zeus taking in wisdom, maturing from a young ruler to one who was wise, since Metis was the titaness of wisdom and cunning. I hope you enjoyed this video and feel a bit more clued up about Greek mythology. There's so much to cover around the topic, and I hope to make many more videos for you all to enjoy and to learn. In the next video about Greek mythology, I'll be talking about the 12 Olympian gods more individually, and some of the demigods like Perseus and Hercules. Let me know what you'd like to see in the comments. Keep learning.